Okay, my name is Barbara Khalil. I'm 55 years old. I'm going to talk about being homeless. I remember my first day being homeless. I went to Rhode Island because of a friend. A friend told us Providence there would be shelters. I would be able to get housing almost right away. We arrived in Providence at Crossroads, so John and I had walked in with our bags, several bags of clothing and even pots and pans and all sorts of things. We thought we were going to be going right into an apartment. To my dismay, that was not going to happen. What they did was they pointed us to a bus that was going to take us to the Overflow and Welcome Arnold in Cranston. I went to Welcome Arnold, which was a men and women's shelter. Well, we hopped this bus with about 100 other people that were going to be going to this shelter. Mind you, I had never been homeless before, and I was so scared. I didn't know if I was going to see John in the morning because we were separated. So we waited in line for almost an hour before we could go into the shelter. The people that were in charge weren't welcoming at all. We were told to go upstairs where we would be sleeping. I was so scared. I was so scared to close my eyes and go to sleep. I was so worked up because I didn't know what plan was, if I was going to be able to get myself out of homelessness, going to be able to get fed, because at this point been fed at all. Had have some food that night eventually, put my bed together, and I remember this one girl coming over to me, and her name was Wendy. I mean, she was a young girl. She told me, thing will be all right. I'll never forget that. Wendy passed away past September. She hung herself, Grace Cemetery. I thought about it after Wendy passed away. I thought about that very first night, if she hadn't said it's gonna be all right. Just those words, those kind words, helped me get through that. Being homeless is not only the most horrible thing, it's frightening. You don't know if you're ever gonna get out of it. People are able to get out of it into some kind of apartment or housing, live with their family. I didn't have that, didn't have any income. I was waiting for my unemployment to kick in. Turned out unemployment did kick in a week later, but the not knowing if you were gonna have any kind of money, if you were gonna be able to get fed, where you were gonna stay that night. I was so worried when I would go each night to Welcome Arnold, because I thought, what if they don't have enough beds? What if I get there late and they don't have enough beds? Or what if they tell me I have to leave because there aren't enough beds? It was that not knowing if you're gonna at least to put your head at night. But I remember how frightened I was, really scared. If you count, we were in and out of the shelter, in and out of motels, because I did have an income. Didn't have enough to get an apartment, because you need first and last and a deposit, a security deposit. I didn't have that. All told, it was 4 years before we got into a rooming house, and 4 years before we got our apartment. So consider the rooming house housing. So I guess it would be 6 years before in 2012 we got our apartment. We've been there 3 years. When I tell you, I thank God I have a place where my next meal's gonna come from. Things that a lot of people take for granted. I'll never take it granted for ever again.